AITAH for not wanting to buy a house 3 hours away from my workplace. Advice needed. I don't know how to start this. I, 27 female, have been with my fiance, 28 male, for 5 years. We've just recently saved enough for a deposit on a house, and he's found this cottage in the middle of nowhere, 2 hours away from where we currently live. The thing is, I already work an hour away. I am a nursery practitioner and I love my workplace. I've been there since I was 20 and I've worked my way up to a room lead position. Living 3 hours away from my job would not be ideal, but my fiance won't budge on this house. He says it's perfect within our budget and quirky enough to fit our tastes and home style. I've tried to communicate with him about this issue multiple times, bringing up the fact there's not even any nurseries in that area that are looking for staff, and I don't want to find another job that's a bit further out, but start from the bottom again. He says it'll all work out if I just stop overthinking it, and I've been at my current job for so long that it would be nice for me to start fresh. Another issue is that I want children. They've always been a huge deal breaker for me, and I don't think it would be such a good idea to live so remotely when it comes to children, as we will have to get them to/from school or nursery before and after work every day. The nearest school nursery is a 30-minute drive away from the house he wants, and we both start work fairly early and finish quite late. It will also be an issue of their freedom as they grow up, because I think it would be horrible to have to rely on your parents for transportation all the time and have to skip out on plans if they can't drive you. He really thinks I'm being dramatic about this, and I'll just figure it out. So, AITAH for not wanting to move so far away from my job and basically all civilization. Update. I wasn't expecting to be able to update this fast, but here we are. First off, I want to thank everyone that commented on my last post, and also add some context as I realize my last post may have been lacking some. Fiance and I have been together 5 years, but I have known him for 12 years. And in all the time I've known him, and especially since we got together, he's always been sweet, taken my feelings into consideration, and hasn't actively ignored my opinion like this. It's always been a 2 yes, 1 no situation in decisions before this. We had a good relationship otherwise. We had date nights once a fortnight. We enjoyed each other's company, had aligning plans for the future, and the same ideals for a relationship. He had watched me go through a few quite bad relationships over the years before we got together, and did his best to be the opposite of my exes, though he's always been quite pushy when it comes to sexual intimacy, so I guess that's an issue. But other than that, it was great, and we had actually had a lot of talks about what we wanted in a house. We had agreed that we wanted a house or cottage, either the same distance away or closer to my work, a bit more remote, but still with a town or city easily accessible by public transport and car. I'm not sure why he suddenly switched to wanting a house so far out from everything and everyone we both know. We live in the UK, and a 2-hour drive can have you in basically a whole other world. Anyway, the actual update. I had annual leave from work yesterday, and my now ex-fiance was having a WFH day, something he's been doing more and more frequently as of late. This is another reason he is so okay with the house he wants being where it is, because he can just switch to full-time work from home. In the morning, I sat down with him and tried to bring up the house. I laid out my points from my last post yet again and told him I am under no circumstances leaving my job. I love it and I do not want to search for another. I brought up the countless other houses that fit our criteria that are in our area and closer to my work, some of which we have viewed. We haven't viewed the place he wants yet, as we haven't had the time, and I told him I do not want to, as I already know it's not what I want. I also asked him if he really thinks it would be okay for me to have a 6-hour round commute every day, especially considering my shift starts at 8 a.m., so I would have to leave by 5 a.m. every morning and be up by around 4 a.m. My shifts typically finish at 5:30 p.m., so I wouldn't even be back home until 8:30 p.m. Would he be okay with doing all the childcare in the future, housework, and just everything that needed to be done because I would not be home for any of it? He didn't seem to take any of it to heart, and still insisted I could find another job, maybe one not even in childcare. And that's what finally pushed me over the edge. Childcare has been my dream since I was a little girl, and I managed to find an absolute dream of a workplace that I know many childcare practitioners would kill to work for. How could I possibly leave that all behind when I've worked so hard for it? He told me he's set on this house, so either I accept it or I leave. I chose leave. I gave his ring back and told him we're done, that he's not being the sweet, considerate man I fell in love with, and I don't know why he can't see my side of things in this. I do not want to live a life with somebody that doesn't consider how I feel in all of this. This completely shocked him, and he started begging me to rethink, that we can figure something out. But I refused and went to pack my things. I'm staying with my brother and his wife now, which is nice because they live closer to my workplace. A 30-minute drive instead of an hour, and I get to spend time with my little nieces. I am hurting, but I also feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I do not deserve to not have my opinion valued, and he certainly did not. I guess it's onwards and upwards, as they say, but I definitely won't be dating for a long time after this. AITAH for blowing up at my husband after his entire family moved into our house without asking me? Throwaway for obvious reasons. Names changed. So I, 33 female, have been married to Tim, 34 male, for 5 years. He's incredibly family-oriented, which normally is sweet. Keyword normally. His mom, Laura, 60s, his sister, Emma, 21, Emma's boyfriend, Chris, 21, and Laura's husband, Jack, 60s, all lived together in Laura's home until a gas leak turned their house into a carbon monoxide chamber. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the house needed major repairs. We were told they'd be displaced for a while. Here's where it gets fun. Tim unilaterally decided to invite them to live with us. Not ask me, not discuss it, just told me they were coming. 24 hours before they showed up with suitcases and coolers of food, like it was a summer camping trip. This wasn't a, can we host them for a few days situation. This was, they'll stay until the house is fixed, which I later learned could take months. I was livid, and before anyone calls me heartless, no. I grew up with 3 older siblings, 2 brothers and a sister. I'm the youngest, and I understand the importance of family. I would give my family the shirt off my back. But I also believe in boundaries, especially when I wasn't consulted in my own damn house. Now for context, Emma is the miracle baby, born after Laura had long given up hope of another child. She's the golden child, and Laura dotes on her like a Victorian-era heir. Tim, who's the second oldest, has spent most of his life playing peacemaker and trying to earn his mother's affection, especially since Laura and Tim's dad divorced when he was 10. His dad and stepmom? Absolute angels. Respectful, kind, never overstep. Can't say the same about Laura and Jack. Emma and Chris are both full-time students with 0 job prospects. Chris spends all day in our media room playing FPS games and vaping stress away, while Emma uses our guest room as her personal content studio. She's an aspiring lifestyle influencer with less than 500 followers and a ring light addiction. Jack just sits in our sunroom reading and pretending the rest of the world doesn't exist. And Laura? She's been reorganizing my spice rack, commenting on my wardrobe, and calling my dog hers. I finally snapped after week 2 today when Laura told me that maybe I should put more effort into my appearance since I work from home and have no excuse. I run a consulting firm from my home office. She thinks I play on spreadsheets. I told Tim we needed to talk, and he actually had the nerve to say, "Babe, don't start. They're family. They needed us." I lost it. I told him they're his family, not his responsibility. That he crossed a huge line, inviting 4 adults into our home without my input. That I felt disrespected, bulldozed, and treated like an afterthought in my own marriage. I told him I've been a good wife, a good host, and a better daughter-in-law than his family deserves, but I'm not a doormat. He accused me of being cold and said I didn't understand what it's like to come from a broken home. I reminded him that he married someone from a healthy home where people ask before they impose, and boundaries are respected. Just because Laura emotionally manipulated him for decades doesn't mean I'm going to let her run my house like it's her second chance at suburban royalty. Now he's sulking. Laura's been making martyr comments about not being wanted. Emma passive-aggressively posted a TikTok about people who don't support your dreams, and I'm the villain in my own home. I love my husband, but I feel like I'm being punished for having a backbone. Update thank you to everyone who commented, especially those who pointed out how suspicious this gas leak situation was. Y'all gave me the clarity and pettiness I needed, so I did a little digging, and I went full detective mode. I told Tim I was going to visit my niece, which I do regularly, so it didn't raise flags. Instead, I made 3 stops. Stop 1, the gas company. I called and asked about the supposed gas leak at Laura's address. They had no record of any emergency call, appointment, or report from that property. Nada. They didn't even know the names. Stop 2. The landlord. I called Laura's landlord, their house is a rental, to ask if they'd been notified about any gas-related issues. He was confused, told me point blank that no one had contacted him about a gas leak, and if there had been one, it would have been reported and handled ASAP. He'd just done a routine inspection a week before they fled to our house and found nothing wrong. Stop 3, their actual house. Yep, I drove over there. No warning signs, no work vehicles, nothing indicating any repairs were happening. I even Googled what to look for after a carbon monoxide emergency. There were no do not enter notices. No equipment, no new detectors installed, nothing. The neighbors that were out front and I asked them about it, and they had casually confirmed they hadn't seen any crews or heard about any leak either. I was fuming. Now, I knew Emma's boyfriend, Chris, is as sharp as a wet paper towel and has the worst poker face known to man. So I got him alone while everyone else was at the beach again and calmly said, "You're not in trouble, but I need you to tell me the truth about why you're really here." Because I spoke to the gas company and the landlord. Y'all, this boy snitched so fast I didn't even have to ask twice. Turns out the entire gas leak story was a lie, cooked up by Laura and Emma. They knew Tim would panic if he thought something had happened to them, and that if they said emergency, he'd roll out the red carpet. The real reason they wanted to stay with us? We live 10 minutes from the beach, the same beach that they've been conveniently going for wonks. They're almost every day. They didn't want to pay for a hotel or an Airbnb, and like I said, they knew he'd do it because he's always trying to be the hero, especially when it comes to his mom. When I confronted Tim, I didn't yell. I just calmly laid it all out. What I'd found, what I'd confirmed, and what Chris confessed. And I saw the exact moment it hit him. His own mother and sister manipulated him using a fake emergency just to score a free beach vacation. He was shattered, then angry, then disgusted. He didn't even hesitate. He told them all to pack their stuff and leave that exact second. Laura cried as she was trying to guilt trip him. I think didn't work, obviously. Emma screamed, Jack shrugged and asked for a ride, and Chris apologized 3 separate times on his way out the door. Now it's just me and Tim again. The silence in the house is unreal. But to his credit, Tim finally got it. We had a long conversation about boundaries, family enmeshment, and manipulation. He admitted this was a wake-up call and that he's tired of being the fixer who gets used. We're now looking into couples counseling. Not because I'm leaving him, but because this broke a piece of my trust, and we both want to rebuild it the right way. For once, I feel like Tim finally sees things for what they are. For the TDLR peoples, gas leak was fake, in-laws lied for a free beach vacation, Tim grew a spine, and they're gone. Thanks again, Reddit. I owe you one.